To celebrate the launch of the women's game in Football Manager 26, I wanted to create a little video for those that are looking to try a women's football save, but perhaps don't know where to start in FM26. We're going to keep it simple and start with a league that most of you will have heard of, as well as one that we know will definitely be in the database. I'm going to give you three slightly different club challenges to consider from the WSL for the 2025-26 season. Let me know if any of them appeal to you, or if you have another save planned for the world of women's football in a new edition of the game. A quick note to say that you can also pre-order Football Manager 26 via Fanatical using my link in the description or the eye above. And don't forget to add promo code LOADFM26 at checkout for an extra 5% off. Now, unfortunately, before we start with our three save ideas, I am forced to caveat this video with a statement. Due to my previous experience with women's football content, both here, talking about FM, and on other platforms, I am aware that many of you will not be interested in the introduction of the women's game to Football Manager, as its core match going following is largely very different to the demographic of men's football. If it's not for you, by the way, that's absolutely fine. But you don't need to tell the whole world. Just as you didn't when the Latvian game came in and most of you didn't manage there, it doesn't matter. There are a lot of people I know who didn't have a great deal of interest in Latvian or Japanese football, both of which were added to Football Manager in recent seasons. But again, there was very little outcry about those leagues being added to the game in the past 2 to 3 years. In my opinion, more leagues and more options is better for the game and its players, while more researchers working on the game and adding further detail is absolutely brilliant. If this league and this style of football isn't for you, and you aren't going to use women's football in FM26, then that is completely understandable. However, we don't need to know. Just leave the leagues unpicked as you would the Latvian league and crack on with your own save. It's going to be good fun and hopefully you'll enjoy it. We'll have plenty more save idea videos from the men's game in the coming weeks, so don't worry, your needs will be fulfilled as well. We'll see you again for those ones, but you can skip this one if you're in that boat. With that frustrating but essential disclaimer out of the way, let's move on to my first FM26 save suggestion from the world of women's football. Now, this first one is pretty unimaginative, I know, I don't need to be told, but we're going to start with Arsenal, and with good reason. Once the dominant force of English women's football, ironically alongside Doncaster Bells, who, depending on how far the English leagues go down, may well be in the game and be a great save, Arsenal are still competitive at the top of the WSL, but have so often been the nearly team in recent domestic seasons. You can see the parallel, can't you? Despite that though, they remarkably became champions in Europe last season with a magnificent run under new manager and former assistant René Slagers to win the Champions League. They're also a particularly good place to start for new WSL players, as a number of the squad are likely to be familiar to England Lionesses fans. Key heroes of the Euro 2022 and 2025 winning Lionesses team are littered throughout the Arsenal squad, including England captain Leah Williamson, top scorer and player of the 2022 tournament Beth Mead, and striker Alessia Russo, who all formed a crucial part of that famous squad. To add to that, this summer Arsenal also made the loan of double final hero Chloe Kelly permanent, giving you the spine of the Lionesses team to start with at this club. If all of that wasn't enough though, Arsenal also broke the women's world transfer record earlier this summer to sign Olivia Smith from Liverpool for £1 million. There's another reason to get started with them. For a little bit of history, for those of you who prefer to know the background, Arsenal women were founded by Vic Akers in 1987, before he later popularised the dual role in football by becoming the kitman for the men's team in 1997. He continued to manage the women's team until 2009, winning 32 major trophies, including 11 league titles and a first UEFA Women's Cup won by any English side. His final 6 league titles as manager formed the start of a consecutive 9 top place finishes, which later included the first 2 seasons of the WSL in its current form in 2011 and 2012. Since then though, Arsenal have only won a solitary title in 2019 and have been forced to settle with a couple of League Cup wins in terms of domestic football in recent seasons. Could you be the manager to take Arsenal back to the top of the English game, especially following the dominance of London rivals Chelsea? A bit of a weird one this, you're looking for domestic success rather than in the European game. My second pick is another club that have historically been very competitive in the women's game, and that is Everton. A regular league runner-up and cup finalist in the late 2000s, the club are now recovering from a more difficult time in the 2010s. While they finished in the bottom half of the WSL last season and by no means have a squad to challenge at the top of the division yet, they do now have an incredible facility to build from off the pitch. As many of you will know, the men's team have moved stadium this summer, which means Everton Women will be the lead team at Goodison Park next season, the first team to have a dedicated ground of this magnitude. It's a large and historic stadium from the men's game, as many of you know, but you now have the chance to make it your own in women's football with this football club. It gives you the opportunity to create and build for the future with a sizable ground already owned and in your armoury, with a relatively young squad of growing quality. Could you be the manager to take Everton back to the top of English football and add to their only top flight football, which came late in the 20th century in 1998? It's a challenge, but is it one you're up for? Last but not least is arguably, in fact, the most exciting WSL challenge this year for me, and it's the London City Lionesses. In 2025, they became the first fully independent professional side to reach England's top tier. With no perceived shadow of a men's side or a long history at the club already from the men's side of the game, this gives you the perfect opportunity to create your own legacy for the club in FM26. There's some great reasons to manage London City on the pitch too, because following promotion, they added some talented young players, in addition to the overwhelming experience of Netherlands legend Danielle van der Donk and Nikita Paris, who boasts over 70 England caps, including an appearance in the Euro 2022 final. Captain Kosovar Aslani joined a year earlier in the twilight of a very stellar career too. So without doubt, this is one of the strongest promoted sides to join the WSL in recent years. This level of extreme experience should help your traditional FM players too, because if you're one of those, like many of us, who likes to build a team of young stars and players for the future, you should already have a number of very ideal mentoring group leaders in this squad and be able to shape some great personalities from the young stars that you're trying to build into superstars. Can you now do the hard part at the start and take the London City Lionesses to survival and then beyond in the future, competing with the traditional English London clubs at the top end of the WSL table in the future? Those are just my 3 suggested WSL save ideas to help you get started with women's football in Football Manager 26. Let me know what saves you've got planned from both men's and women's football in a new edition of the game, and any other leagues that you're particularly hoping make the women's football database. I'm recording this before that's been announced. If you enjoyed this little save ideas video for the WSL, then please do chuck a thumbs up on it. And don't forget, you can pre-order FM26 via my Fanatical link in the description up in the eye above, and use promo code LOADFM26 at checkout for an extra 5% off. I'll see you again soon with another set of save ideas for Football Manager 26.